don't think you push out the bad and the good just automatically falls in. I think you have to actively choose to think about things in the right way. So you have to choose love over lust. You have to choose
What's love?
kindness over, cruelty, as it were. You asked me what love is. Love is something that you build over time. It's a verb and a noun. It's not just the feels, but it's, being willing to be selfless for somebody, being willing to, that comfort you get with somebody after spending a long time with them. That rapport.
You get with somebody for spending a long time with them.
And feeling is safe. When you go to your parents, you're safe, right? Generally speaking.
I don't know if that's true.
You never felt safe? You never ran to your parents for comfort? There's also Corinthians 13, if you want to go that route with it. Defines love.
What's that say?
Let's look it up, shall we?
Okay.
You want to ask what love is? I believe it's Corinthians 13.
Like, to me, love is God. And it's like...
Oh, I see what you're going.
That's not
But
ours.
the correct one is God is love. Not love is God, but God is love. But anyway, let's see here. I'm splitting hairs. But I think that's an important distinction to make, though. All right,
Sure.
We'll read Corinthians 13 here. We'll eventually get to Napoleon. But anyway, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. And where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. So that, I guess, would be my definition.
So, So, to me, it's like love isn't ours to give; it's God's. Like, that's what that says. Because if we do something for somebody, and we take that feeling of pride, like, or boast, like it said, it's to our own benefit, right? Our flesh's benefit, and we should be giving the glory to God in everything we do. That's love.
I don't understand. First of all, are you disagreeing or agreeing with the chapter, or are you trying to understand the chapter? Like,
No, I agree with the verse, but it's like it's not ours to give or have. It's
I guess I don't know what you mean. Like, love is not ours to give or have.
like we're not capable of love. Like, it's God. Like, we have to be in line with God's will to love.
I actually agree we're not capable of love on our own. But that's why when you get saved, for example, like, this is one of the reasons why I think once saved, always saved is so important. Because you cannot give unconditional love until you are shown unconditional love. if every relationship in your life is based on merit, if your
Who gives
relation,
unconditional love?
God.
Okay.
For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Christ died for your sins, paid for every sin you ever have had or ever will have. He's paid for everything to make a way for you to go to heaven. When you accept that, you're entering into that covenant, and you're in that covenant forever, regardless of what you do, because Christ is never going to let you go. No man can pluck you out of the hands of the Father. You are safe with him. That is a demonstration of unconditional love. And once you understand that you are loved unconditionally, that everything you've ever done wrong, everything you ever will do wrong has been forgiven and has been crucified with Christ, as it were. Once you understand that God will always keep you and will always be connected to you and will always love you, regardless of how stupid you are, once that sinks in, then you're able to give that love to other people, or you start to learn how to give that love to other people. But until you do that, until you actually accept the free gift of Christ and understand that it's been given to you unconditionally, until you actually understand that God loves you unconditionally and that Christ's sacrifice on the cross is the ultimate demonstration of that, until you get that, most other relationships, if not all of the other relationships in your life, are going to be motivated by merit. It's like, I will love you as long as you don't tick me off too much. And we can't get past that until we realize that God demonstrated a love that is higher than that to us. Does that make sense?
So by just realizing that Jesus died on the cross, we automatically forgive everyone around us?
Yeah, like Christ forgave you for everything you've ever done.
Forgiven everybody around you?
I would like to think so, yeah. It's hard. And sometimes
peace?
I have to remind myself of it, but
That you've forgiven people?
yeah, sometimes I have to make the choice again. But yes,
Once
I
you've
have forgiven.
you should be done.
So you never have an instance where you have an inerrant thought that tries to get you wound up at somebody again, and you have to reject it.
Never have it. Say it again.
So you've never had an instance where you had like an inerrant thought pop in your head that tried to get you mad at somebody else, and then you had to reject it.
Every day.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, yes, I've forgiven people, but sometimes I have inerrant thoughts that try to get me riled up at somebody, and then I reject it. So as far as I know, I'm not sitting like super mad at anybody in particular. I'm not like holding any grudges to my knowledge. But like when I was mad at somebody in particular, and I don't want to go into detail lest I embarrass that person, but this is what I believe the still small voice of God told me. He said, I have forgiven you of everything you've ever done, or Christ forgave you for every sin you've ever committed, I believe is the way it went. You have no right to be mad at this other person. And it was a very strong word. It was like, not that, not that, well, you could and it's understandable. It's like, you don't have the right. I've forgiven you for everything. Your debts are completely paid. You have no right to hold that anger over somebody else now. It was actually quite firm. Not a rebuke. I wouldn't go that far, but it was very firm.
Right. No, I like it.
And that thought enabled me to forgive that person in that moment. But I think there's people that refuse to accept that, once you're saved, you're always saved, and they refuse to accept the unconditional love of God. And because they refuse to accept that, they don't really understand how to love other people unconditionally. That's my belief anyway.
Okay. I don't know.
This was a giant diatribe because you asked me what love is. And I was like, I'm not really sure how to answer that. So I said some of the things I thought, and then I mentioned Corinthians 13, and that led us here. So
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I don't even know what my question was, bro.
You asked me what love is.
Oh. All right.
Is that thoroughly satisfy it? Are you satisfied with that answer?
I guess. I'm not even sure why I asked it.
I'm not either. We're kind of rambling and going all over the place today. Because we were talking
Pretty
about
clever,
emptying
yeah.
your mind. Yeah, you were talking about emptying your mind, and I was saying you have to choose the good. You can't just empty your mind and hope the good falls in. And then that somehow
Okay.
jumped into love, and that brought us here.
Okay.
So I think where you and I are disagreeing is like when it comes to,
How did you get to that still small voice that you just talked about? Like, how did you get there? Did you just think about that?
no, I was in the middle of having an interaction with somebody, and in the middle of that interaction, that still small voice interrupted. I guess you could say it interrupted my entire dialogue. Like for me, whenever I believe I've heard
Interrupted
from,
your thoughts.
yeah, it broke. It was like I was in a loop, or I
It's
was
a
on a
different thing,
completely
though,
train
right?
of thought. Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like whenever I believe I've heard from God, like this is just my own impression. I think the way that I've been able to tell is it's not, he's not mean, he's not forceful, but it is like strong enough to break whatever chain of logic that you're on. Like
Yeah.
it gets your attention. It's like it's
Yeah.
not painful like a slap in the face, but it kind of feels like a slap in the face because it just interrupts wherever you're at. Like
Yeah.
I guess the term would be spiraling. You might be spiraling in another direction, you know and it just completely, his voice like completely approached you. Like here's a sappy sentimental story about that. Like I remember one time I was mad at my mom about something, and we'd had a big fight, and then I was by myself, and I started yelling at God, and I started getting really, really like full blown screaming and calling. I might have called him names, I don't remember, but I was in a very, very bad place, and I was yelling, and I was getting louder and louder. And that still small voice came in, and God was just like, Gary, I love you. Or I love you.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And, it wasn't like audible, but it was loud enough to overpower the yelling I was doing. And it was
Yep.
in my head. And it was so like emotionally profound. Like I threw myself on the couch and cried for 20 minutes. Like it was that deep. So
It's like emotionless, right? Like it's not your thoughts. It comes from out of nowhere. Like that's what I'm saying. You have to get rid of your thoughts. Like you're screaming,
I
your
got
anger, that was your thoughts. That's how you felt. It was your emotions, your
Yes,
thoughts
and
and
I was
emotions.
thinking about all that, and I was in the middle of a loop, and he broke the loop.
Right.
I guess that's why I would disagree with you, is because I feel like God, when he wants to speak, can speak over your thoughts. Like he's louder than your
Yeah.
thoughts. So I don't understand why you would need to clear your
Well,
mind in order to
sometimes,
hear him.
like I mean, sometimes he has to break that loop because you won't stop thinking. But I mean, like to practice getting rid of your thoughts, that's how you hear him, you know, when you want to,
Hmm.
instead of just when he makes you hear him.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm really bad at explaining this stuff, but
Say the last part again, because I'm not sure I understand. I don't think I
so like
heard you.
you're saying God interrupted your your diatribe, which was your thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
So like that's when God like makes you pay attention,
Uh-huh.
right? But if you want to just hear him, when you're in your regular state, like, if you're going to bed at night or waking up in the morning and you pray, like you have to push all those thoughts out yourself,
Uh-huh.
and then you'll be able to hear him
Uh-huh.
without him having to just completely interject in your life because you've eaten yourself alive with thoughts.
But this is what we were arguing about last week. Like, how do you know that you're hearing from him if you're pushing all your thoughts out?
Because he's not thoughts. He's like you said, like you just told me what the distinction between the two was.
So you're thinking he'll like force
It's an
himself.
understanding, it's not a thought.
Yeah, but you're kind of like winding up in the same place, because if God wants to make himself known, he's going to do that. But, whether you
But what if you
silence,
just wanna
whether
hear him
you
by
forcefully silence yourself or whether you're yelling, he's still going to have to break through your own intentions. So you're kind of in the same place either way.
What?
So you're saying that in order to hear from God, you have to silence your thoughts.
Yes.
I'm saying God can speak regardless of where you're at. You're
Okay, yeah,
saying
that's true.
you're saying that the way that you tell the difference between, say, a demon trying to fill your brain of clutter and God is God's forcefulness in that situation. Like, regardless of whether I'm yelling or spiraling, or whether you're
No, I mean, you
trying to
don't want to
quiet
get
your
to a point where
mind,
you're yelling
God
and
is like
spiraling.
force. Well, yes, that would not be
Like, you
ideal,
don't
but
want to get there,
yeah, okay, but let's
right?
stay on. Yes, but let's stay focused here. So I'm trying to break down what you said, and I'm trying to break down what our arguments are. So you're saying that the way that we know it's God is because He breaks through the silence in the same way that He breaks through the yelling.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying then if that is the case, this was my current rebuttal just a couple seconds ago. If that is the case, then why would you need to silence your mind to begin with? Because God is like making himself heard in either situation. Do you understand? Like, what is the necessity of silencing your mind if God is going to make himself heard in any case? And his forcefulness is the only way that we could know to begin with.
Because he's not. Like, he'll only push through and be like, Gary, snap out of it. Like, he's only going to do that when you get to a point where you're so emotionally unhinged because you've been listening to your thoughts
Uh-huh.
that you're like screaming and yelling.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to get to that point. So to practice hearing God, you have to push those thoughts out yourself.
So you're just talking about like keeping calm though. Like are you talking
Yeah.
about
Well, in a way, God is what keeps you calm. Like your understanding about like God's will be done. Like I shouldn't have freaked out about that ticket the other day. Like
uh-huh.
I freaked out, man,
Yeah.
because I had a warrant out and all that, so I got scared.
Uh-huh.
And whereas I should have just prayed and understood that it was all going to be okay
Uh-huh.
and pushed all those like fearful thoughts out because I had people telling me it was all these different prices and the warrant and blah, blah,
Right,
blah,
right,
blah.
right, 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 right.
Right. I was listening to those thoughts. Whereas I
Yeah.
should have just been like, it's fine.
Well, it's good to be calm. I wouldn't call that praying. I think maybe
Pushing the thoughts out, that's praying.
no, it's not. Like praying's making your
Well,
requests
in
known
my
before
opinion,
God.
it is.
Yeah, but what are your opinions based on, Cody? That's what's like frustrating. Is like you're telling me stuff that is, parts of it's I agree with and parts of it I don't. But when you're talking about reading the Bible and understanding the Bible, like, are you trying to understand like what the Bible actually means, or are you just trying to find ways to interpret the Bible, or is it both? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand like what you're trying to like do when you're like, because that's not praying. Like the entire book of Psalms is literally prayers that David said and he wrote them down, or at least
Aren't they
a good
songs?
chunk of them. Some of them are songs, some of them are actual prayers. Like, and then you have dozens of examples of prayers in the Bible, like the Lord's Prayer: Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy
Your
kingdom
will
come,
be
thy will
done.
be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive those who forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. That's making your requests known before God. That's not clearing your mind.
Yeah, Jesus told us how to pray. Forgive others so God can forgive you, and be
Yes.
still. His will be done.
And but what do you think
Period.
what do you think the give us this day our daily bread means though? Like that's making your requests. Like that's part of
Uh,
praying. Or at the very least asking for things you think you might actually need.
how do you know what you need?
Well, you don't, but when you make your requests
Right.
known, you're articulating where you're at, and God decides whether or not you need it, but you still articulate what you need or what you think you
But you don't
need.
know what you need.
Yes, but you should still talk to him and ask him about it. You may not need it, but
Like,
you may think you need it, and you may need to communicate that with him.
yeah, but that's still a thought. You don't know what you need. God knows what you need.
But
So
it doesn't matter.
hey,
Christ
listen.
told
So
you to communicate what your needs are, to bring your requests to him.
no, he didn't.
Hang on a minute. Let me pull up some verses because we need to pull up some verses.
Give us this day our daily bread. That's like, sustain me so I can continue to try to do your will.
Philippians 4:6. All right.
Like, your will be done. That's the whole prayer, dude.
It's not the whole prayer because there's more to the prayer. Like if that was the whole prayer, that'd be the only part of it. Hang on a minute. I cannot stand, like, I don't know why Bible Gateway doesn't understand the concept of alphabetical order. Like, there's this thing called the alphabet. We use it to find stuff. But, all right. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God.
Say again.
Be
Sorry.
careful for nothing, but in I would say either don't worry or be, I don't know.
Don't care about anything?
I don't know if it's don't care. I think it'd be more like don't worry. Like, do
Okay.
not worry, but because like you can kind of tell by the conjunction afterwards, like this is kind of the opposite of whatever this is. So be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. So the way I would read that is while being grateful for what you already have. Actually, I need to pull this up for people that might be watching. While being grateful for what you have, also make your requests known unto God. Don't worry, but with prayer and supplication. I'm not sure what supplication means, but I'm assuming it might be like repetition or something, but I don't know. But by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. So you are supposed to bring your requests to him. Now you're supposed to have the right attitude about it, but you are supposed to make your requests made known. You're supposed to tell him what you want.
Supplication is a humble request or prayer for help or something from someone in power.
Okay, so it's to ask humbly.
To plead humbly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, to me, that still says you don't know what you need.
Yes, ultimately you don't know what you need, but the goal of the prayer isn't just to get what you need. It's also you're building a relationship with God. When you have a relationship with your parent, like it works just like, a parent-child relationship. You ask
the deeper that relationship gets, the more you realize you don't know what you need.
Yes, but part of building that relationship is asking your parents for stuff. There's a season where you ask your parents for what you want. Your parents decide whether or not it's good for you. Like that's just part of the child relationship. And it's the same thing with God. You make your requests known to him.
I feel like the ends of that is like ultimately you don't coming to the realization that you don't know what you need. Like that's the ends to that means. And so like giving full trust to God, faith in God.
Well, let me ask you this.
Him giving you what you need. That's the point.
Would you be happy if your kids never asked you for anything?
Would I be happy if my kids never asked me for anything?
Because I wouldn't be happy if Demi never asked me for anything, like, and didn't really interact with me beyond just saying thank you, like, and just said good things. Like, I would be kind of annoyed by that.
Gratitude all the time?
Yeah, like, I would be kind of annoyed by that.
Make you want to do more?
No, I would be annoyed by that because I'd be thinking she's being insincere.
Well, you think God thinks you're insincere?
Yeah, I would think that he would know I was being insincere because obviously I want stuff, but I'm not talking to him about it. I would think that he would know that I was just being quiet about certain things and I'm not opening up to him.
But he knows you're not because he's God.
Well, if I didn't ask him for stuff, but I just kept it to myself, I would be being insincere, though, and he would know that. I don't think he would appreciate it.
I don't know, man. Because like the less I think the less my kids ask me for, the more I want to do for them. Like, hey, are you sure you don't need anything? Like, let me do this for you. Let me do this for you.
I would be annoyed. I kind of want my kid to ask me for stuff, and I want her to make her requests known to me. Like, I want her to.
That's your own pride, though. Honestly, not trying to step on your toes. But...
Well, no, I think it's just I want her to be open and honest. I don't want her to hold anything back.
I mean, I get that, but she's a child. So
Yes, and we're children before God.
yeah, but ultimately we should want for nothing because God will give us what we need. It's like He feeds the birds. What makes you think He's not going to feed
Yeah,
you?
sure, but all you just used the key word there, ultimately. Like maybe we should get there, but we don't start there.
No, but that's the goal. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I would say that you have to start by asking like have you ever read Psalms? Like Psalms is great because David half the time is just venting. He's like going, "God, I wish you would strike these people dead. I hate them." Like he's
It's
like
emotional and gay.
yes, he's venting his emotions before God. And I
Yeah,
would
I think
I would
that's
make
gay.
the argument I would make the argument that the reason David is called a man after God's own heart is because he was that open and honest with God. So even though he was a sinner and did horrible things, he never ran. Like he never tried to cut himself off from the Almighty. Like he was completely vulnerable and open with him. I think that's what Psalms demonstrates. Have you ever read Lamentations? Lamentations is another good example of people being in a bad place and like lamenting. Yeah. So I don't think, I don't think prayers are just like clearing your mind. There's a degree of catharsis attached to it where you're just being open about where you're at.
Could be, but you don't get in. I don't know. I feel like you don't get in that emotional state where you need catharsis if you're constantly grateful.
But nobody is. You weren't grateful about that
No, but
ticket.
that's the
I'm not.
goal.
Yes,
That's all I'm
yes,
saying.
yes. You're right. That's the goal. You're
So,
right.
like,
That's the
that's
goal.
what we should
But
seek.
that's
We
not where
should seek
people
to be
are.
grateful all the time.
I think you have to start where you're at, and I think you have to be open and honest
Yes.
before God,
I'm not saying I
and
have
then
like
you'll
a
eventually
perfect
get
life,
there.
dude.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying when you have a problem, we like vent to God like we would vent to a spouse or vent to our parents or vent to a best friend. Like we're open with Him. So like a prayer is a lot more than just like clearing your mind. Like, yeah, you might need to still your brain so you can actually maybe hear Him from time to time. But there's more to prayer than just that.
I don't know. I think I still disagree.
Well, I think I disagree too, but we're gonna have to wrap it up because we're an hour in,
All right.
and I drew.
We're an hour in.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Napoleon. I drew devil hordes on Napoleon. I didn't even.
Hey, sow and reap says Matthew 7:10. Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent?
Yeah. All right. So, do you want to look that up really quick? Is it Matthew 7:10?
Ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, you should want for nothing.
Let's see. What is he? Okay, 7:10. So we need to start. Let's move a little further up. Okay. So let's start at 5, just to be safe. So, thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. What'd you do? Why'd you move that? Okay. All right, hang on here. It moved on me. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. What man is there of you, whom if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent? If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him? Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. So, you should ask.
Okay.
So,
No,
sow and reap.
doesn't
Thank
say
you very
that.
much for that
Like,
chat.
hey, it says you're gonna get it. Like whatever you ask for, you'll get.
No, it
But that
literally
doesn't
says
mean it's
ask.
good for you.
It's literally a declarative sentence. Ask and it shall be given you. And I
Right,
don't
but
think
that
it means
doesn't mean
every
it's gonna be
single
good for you.
thing. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It doesn't mean
No,
you're
it
going to get.
doesn't.
It doesn't mean you're going to get whatever you want. But God, being a good father, is going to give you things that are good for you. He is not going to give you a serpent,
No. What?
but he is going to give you good things that'll help you. Not so in some instances you might need a car.
Right.
In other instances, a car might not be the best thing for you, and he won't get you that. So it's going to need to be dependent on what is good for you, good for your spiritual growth, let's say. But he's always going to give you, he's always going to help you. He's not going to give you stuff that's destructive to you. So you should ask, because God is going to help you. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.